Hey Pete, how you doing?
Good, Ray.
Good. I've been admiring your cannon.
Yeah, it's a nice cannon.
Well, does this represent anything in your life?
Maybe the trigger caused the bullet to come out and kill you. It's not the trigger that causes the bullet to come out. It's the gunpowder. So much like a situation where you think you got angry because someone took a parking spot that you were heading towards, it isn't the man who took your parking spot that causes the anger. The gunpowder in human affairs or emotional affairs I compare to concerns for oneself, loving oneself more than one's neighbor, loving oneself above and beyond other people. So that when you want that parking spot, the love of I want what I want when I want it, above and beyond that other person who needs a parking spot, so that you are more important and you are more central in your life. That love of self, if it doesn't get what it wants, that's the gunpowder. If on the other hand you're coming and someone pulls in to take your parking spot and you notice it's an attractive lady, you know, your love of being well thought of may keep you from being angry. But there is a love that comes from the divine, which is from the Spirit, which is not self-centered. It's capable of loving your enemies, blessing those who curse you, and so forth. So that in that case, there's an empty gun. So someone can even pull in, hoping it'll make you angry. You pull the trigger, there's a click. Why? Because their happiness is as important to you as your own happiness. So, and that's a huge transformation.
So the gunpowder is wanting what I want when I want it. It's all about me.
Yeah, love of self.
Okay, so that's the gunpowder.
Yeah.
And so how do we get that gunpowder just out of the picture?
Yeah. And I would say I can't get that gunpowder out of the picture because Beelzebub can't cast out Beelzebub. Even my desire to be enlightened or my desire to be spiritual is still a self-love. It's like Moses can get you to the river.
Yeah.
It really ultimately comes down to praying that God will give you a heart of flesh to replace the heart of stone. And the only reason I would even ask for that is we start to observe the impact of coming from those loves, called evil of falsity. So you start to see anger doesn't just express itself as someone taking your parking spot. It'll express itself as your children. It'll express itself as your wife, to your friends, to your co-workers. And you start to see the what we call the unmanageability of those loves being active rather than surrendering those and having that replaced by true love of your children, true love of other people. We call it regeneration, you can call it transformation, but that really is that process by which God instills a new will into you, heart of flesh.
Yeah.
And we get that by having the results of coming from selfish loves. And selfish loves ultimately don't work. And I have to ask God to remove that gunpowder, which is loves of self and loves of the world, self-centeredness, and replace that. I have to ask Him to do that. I can't do that because left to myself, that is my will.
Yeah.
And that is the pride of my intelligence. I know best and I know what's going on. And whatever's going on in my mind is reality. And I trust that and believe that. And then after looking at it, I start to say, no, God, I don't want to be thinking these thoughts and feeling these feelings. I have to ask you to replace them with your will. And I'm willing to give it up to you. I'm willing to die to myself in order to be born again of the Spirit.
And this is not just a one-shot experience.
It's a lifelong.
So eventually we want it to look like this.
Yeah, you want your old will, they say it in one particular religion, it's called quiescent, which means it's there, but it's old and it's rusting and hadn't been used in a long time, and it's not dangerous anymore. The bowling balls are not cannonballs, they won't fit, and it's rusted. But I'll have to say for my will's still polished up pretty good and oiled pretty good, so I'm looking forward to the day when it's like that.
Yeah.
But you drop a match on mine, it goes off. But eventually that is the goal. So the God's will is there, and God's will doesn't look like that. It's not dangerous, it's truly loving.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Pete.
All right.